Oh, that's a rockin' stereo.
Couple like that.
There's nobody in the audience that I could see.
So hot yesterday. We didn't have stand up.
I think I don't want to bother her, but I'm probably
Just roll it.
She's so generous.
All right. Okay, we might even finish this class on time and be done this class. We'll see. ACI 16, class 5? 5.
5.
5.
Part B.
Part B. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now we're going to talk about, before we get into the beautiful subject of the 9 stages of meditation, we're going to talk about the problems that we have, that we can come against in meditation, and what we can do about it, the antidotes to those problems. So there are classically 5 obstacles to meditation. The first one, no one here can tell me what the first obstacle of meditation is, because there ain't no first obstacle of meditation. Someone can tell me.
Yes.
Sure.
Lay low.
Lay low, which sounds just like it is laziness. That's the first problem. You got to get on the cushion. And you're not getting on the cushion, you got a problem. And mostly that is laziness. And laziness really, it sounds like lethargy, but really laziness is just, you can be a very, very active person. And just your priorities are such that you just don't think it's important to meditate. And they call that laziness. Basically, you're not getting yourself onto the cushion. So, if you're a teacher and you're trying to, help a center run and stuff, and you haven't seen emptiness yet, don't let your job, don't let your yoga center, don't let anything get in the way of you seeing emptiness directly, because you have to see it. You have to see it, and you have to see it in this lifetime. And that's going to take some cushion time, a lot of cushion time. Because if you don't, nothing else is going to work, you see. There's nothing in the world. There's nothing that you can accumulate in the world. There's no happiness that you can get from the world. There's, I don't care what yoga studio that you're running or, how many students you have. If you don't see emptiness directly, none of that is going to work, right? It will bring you all kinds of good merit, and you'll be doing good things, and you'll be helping a lot of people. But when you see emptiness directly, you can help a lot of people in a very different kind of a way. Because after you see emptiness directly, there's no one can shake you off your view. No one can come to you and try and convince you that this thing's going to work or that's going to work, right? No one can shake you off of what you know is true. And once you're there and people come to you for help, you just deliver that, because you know what it's done for you, and you know that there's no way that person's going to be happy unless they see it. So then you just give them what they need to see it. That takes meditation. It just takes hours. And so, because it's the first problem, and it's probably the worst problem, or the most powerful problem, there's antidotes to it. The first antidote, there's 4 antidotes to this, and they're kind of funny, because they run in a sequential order. But the first one is putting your mind again and again to the benefits of meditating. And you think of, generally speaking, you think of the 5 paths, right? Which were accumulation, preparation, seeing, habituation, and no more learning. So then you look at the 5 paths and you think, okay, well, where am I in there? Well, I'm not even sure if I'm on preparation right now. Right? I hope I'm on preparation for seeing, if I haven't seen yet. Sure would be nice to see, be on the path of seeing. God, can you imagine being on the path of habituation? That would be amazing. Wow, imagine no more learning. And you see, and you get like some perspective on what it is you're doing in your life and where you are. And you're like, well, if meditating is the way to get there, I better sit my butt down and get started, right? Like that kind of things. You get stoked on the results. And you know, I could go on all day about the qualities. I could go on all day. I've been meditating for 20, years. I could go on all day about the positive aspects of meditation. There are so many benefits to meditating. It's unbelievable. You know, even if you weren't a Buddhist, you know, and even if you weren't trying to reach this pivotal seeing emptiness directly, it just it clears up your mind. It clears up your focus. You get, you have way more perspective on things in life. You just calm right the heck down about what's going on, you know, and that is very beneficial to your, to you and the people around you. Yeah, if you want to help the people around you, protect them from you, and meditate. Right, get some kind of practice where you're getting some kind of stillness of mind, so that you're not like all janky and going off the off the end all the time. And you have to develop stillness, right? And another, I mean, you enjoy things more. Whatever it is that you're doing, you're way more attentive to it. You enjoy things at a much deeper quality. You can get things done with more quality. Menial tasks that you thought were irritating maybe before can become enjoyable. Things like that. Things get better. So you can think of all those kinds of things, and then want to, right? That's the second antidote, which is caused by the first, is that because you do this, then suddenly you go, okay, right, I'm going to do it. And you want to, because you want the results. And then, this list is so funny. Because you want to, you do it. Number 3 is you make efforts. They have this way of like delineating everything. It's such a beautiful way. So, right? And then because of the first 3, so it's number 3, make efforts, right? And number D, or 4, is practiced ease. Because you done all those things and you've meditated enough, it becomes easy and you feel good and you enjoy it. And you've taken care of laziness. It's no longer a problem because you're hooked, you know? Do you remember, everyone here does yoga, right? All right? Everyone does yoga? Do you remember when you got hooked on yoga? When do you remember it? What happened? Why?
Felt good.
Felt good, right? There was a day. Something happened. For me, I know it was, I remember it. I remember I was on my mat and something happened with my breath. With my breath and my body that just blew my mind. And I thought, there's something way more to this than meets the eye, right? This is definitely not about stretching my hamstrings because they were really tight. Like I said, I couldn't even sit in. Really, they were really tight. But even though I couldn't even get my hands past my knees, I connected to my breath in such a way that it blew my whole mind, and I was in this long extended period of bliss that made no sense whatsoever, right? And That's when I get hooked. And that can happen to you in meditation. The same thing can happen where you just sit there and all of a sudden you get this juice and then that's it. You'll never not meditate, right? Until you don't need to meditate, which is like way, way down the road. So that's it. That's how you kill laziness, is you keep on going until you hit that same point you hit on the yoga mat. You just keep on going until it just ignites, right? And then you're like a junkie, right? And then when you hit that point, you've got no problem like blowing stuff off for meditation, right? All of a sudden your priorities shift and maybe you'll even get a different job because all of a sudden that is what's important. That's what we do, right? That's who we are. We do what is important, what we want to do. We just do what we want to do. It doesn't matter what anybody says, right? At the end of the day, we just do what we want to do. The trick is to convince ourselves to make what we want to do helpful things, right? So that's the trick with laziness, is to convince yourself that it's helpful. No, convince yourself that you want to do it. All right. That's the first problem, laziness. And it had 4 antidotes. So there are actually 5 problems to meditating, and there are 8 antidotes, 4 of which we just burned up on laziness. The second problem is losing the object. You're just meditating and all of a sudden you're completely somewhere else. Something has taken you for a long trip somewhere else. And it could be a long time before you even remember you've meditating. The antidote is, what do you think is the antidote? It's really difficult and complicated.
Bring your mind back.
Recalling the object. That's how you fix it. Now, the reason why it's important to recall the object and come back to the object is if you don't come back to the object you started with, you end up planting seeds to always lose the object. So if you always lose the object and then come up with a new one, this will work now, right? You will have a mind that is always losing the object, right? So the next obstacle, I think these are the 2 power villains of meditation, right? And that is dullness and agitation, right? In its coarse form or its subtle form. And both of those, it falls under one, agitation and dullness. It falls under one problem. And it just with 2 parts. And the antidote to that is watchfulness.
Can you say that again? The third. So we're on the 3rd problem now.
Right now we're on the 3rd problem, which is having dullness or agitation. Either one of those falls under number 3. And the antidote to that is watchfulness. And not watchfulness like you'd think, like always watching, but watchfulness in the sense like you're cultivating this thing in your mind where you have like a sentry there that's watching, like a watchtower or something. That's always, in every about 5 minutes or so, checks in and seeing how your agitation and your dullness is doing. Because we often just don't notice. So we have to have this watchfulness that's checking in, especially with dullness, because dullness can feel quite pleasant. You can get taken away on dullness and just be like really sleepy. And it can be like a nice nap. A nice little daydream. Yeah. And so in a meditation, there's 3 qualities that you're cultivating in meditation. There's the quality of fixation, where you can fixate on the object. There's the quality of clarity, so that you can fix on it with clarity. And then there's fixation and clarity with intensity, right? A nice example is the cup, right? If you're fixating on an object, like it's like you can hold the cup. If you're holding it and you're kind of gently holding it, then that's fixation with clarity. You can see the cup and you're holding it, but your grip isn't that firm, but you have some clarity. If you're holding the cup like really with a nice grip, that's with clarity and intensity, right? So you're holding it. There's some nice examples like I like to think about in that. Like for instance, you're watching a movie, right? You're watching a movie, and the movie is you're all excited to begin with. You think that this movie looked like it was going to be a good movie, and so you're stoked, like you're stoked to meditate. And you put it in, and then the plot starts to get a little thin, and it's like pretty much see through, and you're still watching it, but your mind is like paying attention to other things, right? Like you're aware of other things that's going on, and suddenly you're aware of the traffic outside or whatever, and more degrees of that. So if you had fixation, clarity, and intensity, it would be like a really great movie, right? Like The Matrix, the first one, right? Where you didn't know what was going on yet, right? And it was like your whole attention is effortlessly holding this object with clarity, with fixation and intensity. You just do, and you're pretty much gone into the movie. You're not aware of outside reality. You're only aware of the movie, right? I think that's a nice example. Another nice example is a really, really good song, right? You've got your songs that you listen to, like "Stand By Me," for instance, which you can hear it, but you kind of like you're paying attention to other stuff, right? But then maybe then you've got a song that you like. It's very pleasant, and you're listening to it, and you're into it. Maybe you're even dancing a little bit, and you're into it, but you're still sort of aware of other things going on. But then the song comes on that just takes you right over, and you're just blown away by it, the rhythm, the melody, the words, and then you've forgotten everything else, and you're just right into the song, and only the song. That would be like all three at once, right? So you want your meditation to reach that kind of state, where your meditation is the best song you ever heard, or the best movie you ever saw, right? So for dullness, we have coarse dullness and we have subtle dullness. And coarse dullness is fixation with no clarity. And that doesn't mean that the object is unclear. That means your mind is unclear. Coarse dullness is your mind is overtaken by a fog, right? Like you're driving. Have you ever driven through the intense, like heavy fog, and you can't really see too far in front of you, and you're like, oh, maybe you're relying on the person in front of you that has red taillights, right? You're just like you can't really, but there's this fog there has come over your mind in meditation. Yeah, I've been there many times. And then subtle dullness is fixation and clarity, but it's not the best song yet, right? There's this lack of intensity. And that is our most formidable foe when it comes to meditating, is subtle dullness. Because unless you have good watchfulness, it's easy to not even know it's there. Because really subtle dullness can feel like a very, very sweet, almost drugged out kind of stupor, where you're really happening. Like you're on the object and it's there, and your body feels good. You're feeling bliss, but you have lost your watchfulness, and you fail to notice that all you're really doing is holding this object with this kind of vague sleepiness, and your intensity just isn't there. And that is the time of meditation that takes you to the form realm, births, and you end up losing all your virtue by burning it all up in the formless realms, because you just did this blissful sleepy thing. Very intoxicating. Very intoxicating. I did a lot of that too. They call people like me bliss monkeys. Like before you figure it out, you're a bliss monkey. You just sit down and you get so good at meditating that you just can get to bliss, but you're not doing anything. You're not like putting anything in your mind. You're just like, I'm so out of here. Right? You just don't want to be where you are, so you just get out, and you don't have any idea of karma and emptiness or anything like that. You're just like zoning out really, really well. Yeah. So that just quickly covers the kinds of dullness and agitation that we will experience in meditation. Now, the fourth, so that was the third obstacle, right? The fourth problem is failing to take action to correct dullness or agitation when you should. So the antidote to that is you have to tighten up your focus. But this is or loosen your focus. So as you're rolling along and you're becoming a better and better meditator, you're going to be coming across these experiences where you experience subtle or gross dullness and agitation. And so it becomes a balancing act between those two things. That's really all it is. You're balancing between those two things to finally bring them into the center, and then you don't have them anymore. And they get subtler and subtler and subtler. And so the problem is if you fail to do these kinds of things. So if you're experiencing dullness and you can't shake out of it, what you're supposed to do is do something, which is brighten your mind up. You're supposed to think of something bright, or think of the image of a Buddha, or think of your Lama, or think of the benefits of the path, right? You think of things that will uplift your mind, right? And it's serious enough. It's a serious enough problem that if you can't fix it that way, you're supposed to actually stop your meditation, get up, walk around, splash some water on your face, get the heck out of that thing and go back down. You're better off doing that than cruising along with this thing that's carving a path, right? Because it's carving a pattern in your mind. You have to stop it, right? Now, so that's like tightening up and brightening up. If you're experiencing agitation, so you're flying off the object and you're experiencing this you're too excited, right? You're a little bit too jumpy. You're too excited. Then you've got to bring yourself down. And the way that we do that is we do things like you consider your ensuing death, for instance. Like you got to slap yourself in the face. Like, wake up! You're gonna die in a second. Right? Stop being so jumpy with your mind. Right? Another thing that you can do, if you get good enough, you can mentally loosen up. Because often what it means is you're holding the object too tightly. You're trying a little bit too hard to focus on it. And you need to chill out a bit. And that takes a bit of practice because you're getting very good at doing that, right? Like controlling the up and down of your mind. But if that doesn't work, that's when like the depth awareness meditation is more of a drastic measure. If you can't get it to just fix by your skill. And if neither one of those things work, what you're supposed to actually do is then just start counting your breath. Bring your mind right back down and count your breath. And that just settles things out. The breath is a nice way of settling the mind if you're holding on to it too tightly. So the fifth problem, this is really cool. That is making corrections when you don't need to make corrections. Right? This can be caused by doubt. You can have this thing of doubt, right? You have this doubt where it prevents you from having the ability to even believing, in a sense, believing that you're doing it. It's like I've had experiences of that. Like I was learning to play classical guitar, and I was learning to actually read notated music. And I had practiced for a while, and I was in front of my teacher, and I was playing. And what would happen to me is I would be looking at the page and reading the music, and not looking at my hands and playing, and it would all be perfect. And then I would have this thing where I just couldn't believe I was doing it. Doubt would set in, and I'd just be like, "This is impossible," and then I couldn't do it. I'd just screw up, and it's like that. And the teacher would always laugh at me and say, "Well, you don't trust yourself." Right, and it's born of that. It's born of that movement of the mind that just can't quite believe that you're pulling it off, right? So the antidote to that is self-confidence in what you're doing. Like, leave it alone, right? Leave it alone. Have relaxed confidence. Eventually, when you get quite good at it and you've done it enough, you'll have enough relaxed confidence to be so relaxed and confident that it's all going to work out when you sit down, that even if you're distracted or dull that day, you will just have so much confidence in your ability that you'll just sit and almost like wait for it to happen on its own. You won't be freaked out about it, and your mind will naturally fix it. And then you'll just pop into this nice stillness. All right. So those are the 5 problems, and those were 8 antidotes that just got said. So we are now going to talk about the 9 stages of meditation. I think I can do it. Okay. The first level, the level of shamatha, right? You're trying to reach the highest level of shamatha. You start out at the first level of shamatha. It was just simply being able to fix your mind on an object just for 1 second only. You've entered. You've entered the race. You qualify. And how you get to this place is simply your teacher or someone gives you an object, says, "Here, focus on this." And you sit down, you focus on that, you're at the first level. Maybe I should use this thing. Yeah. So at this point, you don't have a lot of... you have almost barely any sort of maintained concentration. So let's just say this is level number 1. And this is your meditation. And these are the moments that you're on the object, right? So there's a lot of